and welcome back to another process video. And this time I'm working with a cut file, and this cut file is from the Just Nick cut file shop. And oh shoot. Full disclosure, I'm dyeing my hair at the moment. I just accidentally shoved 2 fingers into the hair dye sitting on the top of my head. Smart move, Kathy. Anyway, so I'm pumping out another voiceover while I wait. And so the cut file is called Singing in the Rain, and it's a whole bunch of raindrops, and it's really adorable. And what I'm doing is, after I cut it out with I didn't cut it out of white cardstock. I cut it out of a white that had tiny little black polka dots. It was from an older Amy Tangerine 12 by 12 paper pad that I had. I think it was from like the one that was called like Stitches or something like that. I bought it at Michael's a while ago. Of course, the quality isn't the greatest because it's a paper pad versus individual papers, but for what I'm doing with it, which is turning it into a cut file, I wasn't as worried about the colors being as vibrant, if that makes sense. So I cut it out of that. I backed the whole thing with tiny little slivers of fun foam that are sticky on one side, and I used the sticky side to stick it to the back, and then I'm going to use my tape runner to tape down individual pattern papers to the back of each one, and that's going to give a dimension. I'm not measuring anything, I'm just kind of cutting like raindrop looking shapes, and as long as they fit and you don't see them coming out the other way, then I am good as gold with it. I'm not being picky. I really like how this turned out. I used multiple pattern papers, but I used them on multiple drops, because if I had used a different pattern paper for every single one, that would just be way too much. Now, I wasn't really sure where I was putting the photos, so I just backed the whole thing, as opposed to like maybe not backing where I was gonna put the photos. I think I said the word photos wrong, really, right there. And the background paper is also an Amy Tangerine. I think it was from her collection called Oh Happy Life, something like that. It was a couple summers ago, and it was like the one with giraffes and donuts and stuff like that. And it was a really funky, cool, kind of watercolory stripe, and the colors matched really well. Like, not all the colors are represented that I used to back the raindrops. Like, I got a lot of greens and stuff going on in the raindrops, and that's not in the background paper, but it was close enough. And you guys know how much I really like to put pattern on pattern. So originally I was debating putting like a blue, maybe like a shimmers paint around the whole thing, or in the inside where there's gaps in the cut file and that type of thing. But I actually just kind of liked the stark, like white on white. Now, the only issue I have with something like this is I did these photos in black and white, and no matter how white I think my photos are, when I print them out on the paper is just, it's like the best quality like HP paper I can get. Like, but, which is, it's like the 5-star paper, but it's not white, if that makes sense. Like, when I print them out, they are not black and white. They are black and cream. So when you put them against white paper, it's not as crisp, and it's just kind of sad looking to me. So in the end, that's why I cut them individually out and did not put a white border around, because of course that white border is like a cream color too. And I thought the less of that cream that was around the photos, the less muddy or what, you know, like sepia tone they would look, the more crisp they would look. And this is kind of unusual for me because I really do like to have white borders around my photos, but I did like how I was able to just kind of put the photos wherever I wanted now, as opposed to them just being in a completely straight line. Just because it adds to the whimsy and the movement of this layout, because of course it's my youngest and he's jumping in a puddle, and I love that first photo because I managed to snap it right when both feet are up in the air and he hasn't quite made contact with the water yet. So I just thought that was a really cute photo, and that was kind of my jumping off point. pun intended, for this layout was I wanted to make sure I had that picture, and then I found two others that kind of made like a story, like a little visual story, like him jumping and then the big splash and then him kind of looking down after the big splash, like that kind of thing. So I ended up going through a bunch of ephemera pieces. I wasn't too concerned about bringing in a ton of chipboard or anything like that because I've already got a lot of dimension going on. Of course, after I make this whole really awesome raindrop background, here I go covering it all up. I don't know what part of me thought that was a good idea, but I do end up covering up kind of some of it. And I went through several different ephemera packs. One is Box of Crayons by Chamel. Pulled out a few things from that. I pulled out a few things from some Pink Fresh Studio stuff, some old and new, and some Fancy Pants. And I think both old and new, because I think that This Is Bliss is an old piece, like an old ephemera piece. And then like the little umbrella and the rain boots and stuff that I'm going to end up using are newer. They're pretty new. They're like this spring release new kind of thing. And the rainbow is Chamel Box of Crayons. And I'm just kind of deciding like what I want to do. Like I really liked that saying that was an older piece. It's right underneath the This Is Bliss, and it's talking about spring and talking about the rain and the sunshine and everything. So I thought that was a really great piece to kind of add to this layout. I do apologize for the birds, if you can hear them. If I'm not apologizing for my kids or the TV or something, I'm apologizing for nature. Like, I'm sorry that nature decided to interrupt. There's no way I could close the window. I live in Canada. I live in the east coast of Canada. When it gets hot, it sucks because you're just not used to it. It's not something you really necessarily grew up with. Like, it does tend to get hot, but the past week has been like one of those humidity kind of warm days, and we're about to have another whole week, and my craft room doesn't get any air, and I don't like the idea of putting a fan in here simply because it's going to blow everything around. Like, how am I supposed to work on a layout when all the paper's blowing everywhere? So it gets really warm in my craft room during the summer, especially in days like this. So I don't want to close the window because I am getting at least a little bit of air. Anyway, I'm just popping around ephemera. I decided to use some of the rain boots because I really wasn't sure what else I was going to use those rain boots on, especially because the colors work really well with this. That cloud, I think, is from a different Fancy Pants line from at least a year ago. And it just kind of matched well with what I was going on, like my idea here. Everything's gonna, not everything, but some of it is going to move because I was like, after I did all this, I was like, this is really cool. Now where do I put the title? I don't think those things through sometimes. Most of the time, actually. I say some of the time, but I really do mean most of the time. I do not think through placement of certain things. Sometimes I draw stuff out, but it will often change. So here I am just going, oh, I want some more circles. I want to bring in like some like little wood embellishments, that type of thing, just to add some more dimension and just something else other than just ephemera pieces. So those were from Boys Fort. That was Pink Fresh Studio. I thought that they worked really well. My son never gets the concept of maybe use an indoor voice, so I apologize if you hear some random screaming. Anyway, so yeah, you can see I'm moving the rainbow again. I thought I wanted to use those stickers, thickers, I should say, but I think my determination to use them was more so just to use them up as opposed to using them because I liked them. They're not quite the right yellow color or anything like that. They're kind of an orangey yellow, and they're really long when you start writing out the word Muddles. So I was just like, that's just not working. Plus they were going around on the bottom, and it was really weighing down the bottom of the layout. So I thought I will grab these ones. They've got like a corduroy feel to them almost. They're one of my favorite ones. and I like mixing the uppercase and lowercase. And I just kind of like, I laid them out and was like, yeah, that looks cool. And then I just went, I'm just sticking them down. I'm sticking them down like that. I'm not even going to try. I liked the whimsical, like haphazard look of the title. I thought it worked perfectly. And now I'm doing some huge black drops with my Crayola brush that I bought at Michael's, and it's a great brush for big plops. So that's it. Pictures are coming up. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.